One. Hello, and thanks for joining us on episode 16 of the Edinburgh Northern Cockerel cast. We should have plenty of material in this one, Michael.
Yeah, well, obviously, for this episode, we're joined by a living club legend and a very friendly chap to boot. He served in the first 15 backline for many years during the noughties and successfully captained the club to a title success in 2008 and 2009, which is something you weren't able to emulate as Captain Jason. He's also spent plenty of time at the Mawdsley committee, having occupied numerous roles and spent countless Monday nights over the years enjoying said meetings. He stepped down as president last year and now enjoys attending the club in a social capacity and continues to play for the gents. Drew Chapman, welcome to the cast. How are you?
Good, thanks, gents. Great to see you both.
Good to see you too.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So what have you got to drink with us?
Well, I've got a beer from Orkney actually today. It's a Swanee Pale Ale, American Pale Ale style. It's quite a tasty number, which I'll be enjoying. And in the customary style, a wee whiskey. So this is a Springbank 21-year-old actually.
Ooh.
Which is, yeah, it's pretty punchy stuff. I was given it by the missus. Very tasty, but very much for medicinal purposes as well. So
I think
yeah, it's a good one.
Don't think I've tried. Is it a Speyside or?
No, it's Campbelltown, down west.
Very good.
Good one to try though.
I'm sure you've had a younger version of it in the Dagda before, Jason.
Oh, no doubt.
So, not 21 year though.
Yeah, so I've got a French white because why not? And Michael?
Yeah.
I have a Guinness. And since we've apparently gone left field, a peppermint tea to go along with it. Change times in the cast, eh?
Yeah, a good spread though. So Drew, tell us how lockdown is treating you.
Well, not too bad. I mean, you'll probably know from trying to balance work and having a toddler that brings its own challenges. We're both working, Anne and I, so that's keeping me busy, and obviously being outsmarted by a 2-year-old is tough to take sometimes, but you know I'm getting used to it. So yeah, it's all right, all things considered.
Very good.
How are you guys doing?
Michael, you can lead.
Oh, well, I'm doing really well. I'm working for the government, so I'm quite busy. A lot busier than I actually would have been probably normally, so that's been exciting. I don't have the downside of childcare to kind of, well, not the downside, I don't have childcare to obviously occupy my time. I've just got I probably am the child in my house, so you're probably better asking Kate that question. And yourself, Jason?
Yeah, furloughed still, so picking up most of the childcare, which you run out of patience every now and again. But I suppose I've no one to blame for bringing them to the world but myself.
Yeah, you and your magical penis. You can't really blame anyone else.
Oh, I don't think he's ever had it described as that before, Drew.
Yeah.
But, it's nice to be complimentary.
Yeah.
So move on to the kind of the main body of the interview now. Do you want to tell us a bit about your kind of your backstory, kind of what you do for your work, kind of family, where you come from?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Perth, about an hour up the road, Perth, Scotland. That is. I'd probably say I'm from all over a little bit as well as Scotland, because I suppose I grew up in various different countries, being an expat child. So the Far East, South America, Holland. So fair few places. I've been in Edinburgh since about 2003. I was at school a bit up in Perthshire as well, and at uni down south in Bristol. And I had a couple of years working in London before I decided to sack that off and come back up to Scotland and work in Edinburgh. So I've been here ever since 2003. So, and in terms of what I do, I work for a large bank, RBS, in the finance space, looking at kind of central costs at the moment. There's a big area of focus for us. So, yeah.
Busy then. And onto your rugby then. So talk us through sort of when you first started and any previous clubs.
Yeah, well, I started back in the 80s, which will either shock or not surprise you, I don't know. But I think in those days, mini rugby was just full rugby, pretty much, as far as I know. So I started age about 7 in Malaysia, actually playing mini rugby. And it was my dad that got me into it. He was always mad keen on rugby. So yeah, I guess I really enjoyed it from there. And I've always played a lot of sports growing up, football, cricket, whatever I could turn my hand to. But yeah, I suppose since leaving school and being at uni, you lose a bit of time to do multiple sports, don't you? So rugby became more of a focus for me, I guess, especially later in uni and going forward from there. Yeah. I mean, in terms of school, I guess I played all the way through. So my dad got me into it first, but then teachers at school kind of pushing me, you know. There was a Yorkshireman at my school who was a very angry man, but a good guy to be coached rugby by, because he knew what he was talking about, and he was good at teaching you how to be aggressive. So I think as a small, slightly stocky child, that was what I needed, I reckon. Yeah. Did you want me to cover clubs as an adult as well? Next question.
Yeah, if you had any previous to Northern.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so I guess at uni I started playing with a group of guys who I got on well with. We played kind of intramural rather than the university specifically, but good group of players, and I've played with them since then until very recently, where the limbs have failed me. But a team called the Wandering Hands, and basically a kind of touring invitational side. We've been to various places around Europe, playing in tens tournaments. It's a lot of fun. A bit like Northern Tours, as I'm sure you guys know. A lot of fun. But yeah, I also played for London Scottish for a couple of years when I was in London, funnily enough, before I moved back up here, and enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, since I've been back in Edinburgh, it's really been Northern all the way. Apart from a very brief foray into the Accies training field to take a look around, I didn't stick around long there. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, actually, you've led quite well into the next question, which is, how did you learn about the best club ever, and when did you join?
Yeah, so 2003, end of. As I say, I went down to Accies to have a look around. I did train with them, I think, once or twice, which was fine, but I didn't feel a really welcoming vibe necessarily. You kind of went and trained, and then people moved off. And a friend of mine who was already playing at Northern, Ed Fitzgerald, Fitzy, said to me, "Oh, you've got to come down to Northern. It's maybe not quite as big a club, but you'll have a lot more fun. I think you'll enjoy it." So he coerced me, convinced me to come down. Loved the first session and the chat afterwards, and I've been hooked ever since, I guess. Yeah.
Excellent. I suppose that kind of, you've been here for, I can't work out, I can't do the maths in my head, numbers aren't my thing, quite a long time. What do you think is our selling point, the unique selling point of the club? You know,
but it's got to be that everyone's there to have fun. I think you know, it's playing rugby, it's playing competitive, semi-competitive rugby. Call it what you want, but yeah, you know, in a league structure. But it's the atmosphere of fun and the inventive ways that people come up with to have fun. I think it's great, and it's such a good group of guys that you have there at any given point in time. I think that's got to be the unique thing from my perspective. Looking at other clubs around us, I think they're quite envious in general of the sort of atmosphere we get. So,
I definitely agree with that.
Certainly, I would say Drew was one of those fairly complete or well-rounded players. He made his tackles and found his way into space and was capable of creating it for others too. So no obvious weakness in his game, possibly only his proneness to an innocuous injury later in his playing time. But one enjoyable game I remember with Drew was hosting Inverleith on one of the faraway pitches from the clubhouse. We lost Tom Moss to an early red card. The only time they could score was during the 10 minutes. Josh was also in the bin. Drew played a big part in sort of thwarting any attacks from them and even scored from a wee kick through and chase. But Drew, in all your time then, would you have a favourite game that you played in or victory?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I mean, there are so many good memories, and I've had to jot stuff down because memory's not what it was. But I think a couple have probably been mentioned by guys already on your previous podcasts. Certainly, winning the sevens in 2006 or whatever it was the mid comp. That was a great experience, and even though Wilson wanted to wipe me out from the records, I noticed. I'll forgive him for that. The try we scored against Scotland in the Royal Scots Sevens as well was a great memory. It involved everybody from our own try line, and I think it shocked a few people who were watching us having run onto the Muppet theme tune before the game. So that's a great memory. But I think as well as that, I could probably pick out a couple. So down at Murray House, the day we won the league, when I was captaining in 2009, I guess it was. So it was a grubby day, as it usually is at Murray House. And not a great game particularly, but we kind of stuck in enough to get a bonus point, which took us over the line. So a lot of good memories from that one. It was a real kind of slugfest, one for the purists, I guess. But and yeah, some of the El Botanico games over the years stick well. There was certainly one which I think you'll have played in, Jason, down at their place where we basically blew them away in the first half, and we were maybe 28-0 up at half time or something. And we got one of Coach Mickey's infamous team talks, basically saying, "Hey boys, this is great. You keep going like this, they're going to be in a shitstorm from here to Tokyo." So giving it the big chat, and of course that took any aggression that we had out of it, obviously. So yeah, good memories of. I don't think we ever lost to Inverleith in all the years I was playing. I know they're maybe a slightly different team now, but yeah, that's a good memory. And then yeah, I guess some of the gents trips recently, we've had some good games. The monster 31 all draw that we had to win the 10s in 2017, I think it was an epic, and very happy memories of that, I would say.
Excellent. I obviously mentioned one of your tries that I remember, but there'd be a handful more at least. Any which you think stand out? Not necessarily your own, of course, but.
Yeah, good question. I remember Mikey Hunter. You probably don't know who that is.
I was thinking Andy there.
Yeah, scoring a cracker for us in a 20-all draw we had with Lass Wade back in the mid-noughties, I guess it was. And they were still quite a good side before they went up as high as they are now. But, basically from our own 22, a move slicing straight through and him taking an outside break. If you've met him, he's not the smallest fellow, but he can move a wee bit. or he could back in those days. So yeah, that's a good memory. And a nice move again against North Berwick, not North Berwick. Hoyt Quinns, again, probably the late 2000s. It sticks in my memory as well. Yeah, and that one against Scotland, obviously.
Right.
Excellent. I actually remember setting you up for a try, Drew, in a game of tens, and there's photographic evidence of it.
Oh yeah.
Jason. It's one of Jason's football. So I was disappointed you didn't mention that one. I think it was a 5-metre trundle after I popped out the back door to you, but I'll forgive you for it. You've obviously touched on a couple of players when you were talking there. So in terms of your time at Northern, be it playing first 15, second 15 rugby or gents rugby, do you have kind of favourite positional combinations, or perhaps a back line that you would like to play alongside? A couple of centres, fly halves, etc.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to offend people by not remembering everybody here, but there've been a lot of good backs and combinations that we've had over the years. Certainly when I started, we had quite a small pack, but a pretty handy back line. But yeah, I mean, good memories of playing with Alex Laird, obviously. Notwithstanding the cannon pass that you'd get in the face if you weren't careful. The Aiken brothers, both of them were handy to play alongside, as guys who played 10 and centre. Guys who played 12 specifically, Mark Ivory was a great player. Andy Hunter, a big wrecking ball of a centre, a good guy to play 13 next to. And I enjoyed playing with guys like Ross Hornsey in the centres and further out, I suppose. Mike Pollock, and I probably have to mention Wilson begrudgingly, Wilson Craig. So yeah, quite a few, I would say. Oh, and I guess more recently, James Uriki was a good guy to play alongside. Pretty handy 12, Jamesy.
He ended up going to Hillhead Jordan Hill, and I think he plays for their ones now, which they're quite a good way above us, which shows the standard that he was at when he was with Northern. He was terrifying. I remember seeing him. I think he moved to Falkirk, and I lined up against him my first game. Just terrifying, kind of 6'3" of Kiwi with very obviously large arms. He was a great player.
Yeah, bit of a physical freak, and I guess the benefits of not boozing as much as the rest of us, probably doubling up on that.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Drew, a wee bit back there, you mentioned the effort that gets put into a Northern night out or event. Is there any sort of enjoyable ones from your time around the club that you want to chat about?
Nights out, God. Yeah, I mean, there's lots. I certainly don't remember all of a lot of them. But yeah, I suppose I probably need to mention the night I had in Baldies where I met my wife. That probably ranks pretty high up the list, or officially it does. But no, it does. I think we spent a lot of time in Baldies. I think we kept that place open, maybe in the late noughties. And Raymond, the owner, he still says hi whenever I see him, so that's probably an indicator. In terms of the club, we had some cracking fancy dress nights, and I think we need to make sure we keep doing those. But yeah, wrestling night sticks in my memory. For the outfits, the trash talk, that was a good one. I mean, there's too many to mention. Obviously, I remember bits of good nights out with you, fine young gents, trying to make sure that you were on the straight and narrow as young tearaways. Now that you've matured, that's less of a thing, but fond memories of those too.
I think Crawford put you in a taxi not too long ago, Michael. from a night out.
Crawford did.
Yeah, uptown somewhere, George Street.
Oh yeah, that was watching the Ulster semi-final. I remember that. I wouldn't have said I've matured, but you do bring up a good point, Drew, about looking after and shepherding myself and Jason. My memory of you doing that for me is on my first tour, when which was to Hamburg. So you've obviously toured a lot with Northern. You're a big name in terms of the touring capacity. Do you have a couple of favourite tours or favourite memories from touring with Northern, be it gents or with the?
Yeah, I mean they're all great, aren't they? I can't say there's been a crap Northern tour. So I've probably been on about 16 or something if I count up the main ones and the gents ones. And you know, tours like Madrid and Budapest, they're up there. The big kind of 40-man fiascos that they were. But yeah, I suppose I probably should mention one or two others that I really enjoyed. So Bournemouth was a cracking little trip, and not nearly as many of us there, but so much fun had there. I mean, I remember the fancy dress night we had. JT, you'll remember this, obviously. What was it you were dressed as?
What were we? I was the Scottish Simpson guy. What his name now? Willie.
Yeah, groundskeeper Willie.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Yeah, I absolute spit. But yeah, no, I mean that was a cracking night, and the whole weekend was a lot of fun. I mean, watching the birth of Simple Jack is a great memory, and in particular Neil Hardman and the physio bench. I don't know if I've ever laughed as much as at that, watching him get frog marched off to a cash machine to pay for repairs to a bench that they then promptly used the next day. That's a happy memory.
He went a lot. Was he just trying to lie down or something? How did he lie down while a team must be playing?
He took a swan dive onto it. It's one of those brain farts, you know, that happen occasionally. But yeah, that was a cracking tour. And you know, more recently Bucharest as well was a lot of fun. That you'll remember, Michael, obviously. Yeah, keeping tight lips. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I mean, storage rooms, what a place. Yeah.
Was it storage room or storage box? I can't remember what it was called properly.
Storage rooms, I believe. Yeah.
They really didn't. I think they liked this by the end of it. Bucharest was a tremendous tour. I think completed by the Ferme baths at the end, which was you know, I've never actually had, and I've been to it 4 times. You know, Monday is always the worst day of your life, but I didn't feel that bad after Bucharest. I felt kind of relaxed and almost like I'd been on a spa weekend as a consequence of sitting in tepid water. No, it was great. I really enjoyed Bucharest.
Don't forget water slides and pina coladas. You can't go wrong with that.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So yeah, some fun memories of that one, for sure. But yeah, I guess gents tours I've enjoyed more recently as well. They're probably a bit more manageable for an aging northerner, being shorter and sweeter. So yeah, some good memories of playing and dancing to Katy Perry. The gents will know about that, but it's not as bad as it might sound. Yeah.
Is Katy Perry not young enough to be some of the gents' daughters, potentially?
Yeah, that's probably a question for Wilson Craig, I think.
Very good. So Drew,
flashback to Hamburg.
So Drew, when you were growing up, then who sort of pro or international players would you have taken the most influence from?
Yeah, so I think growing up watching the game, it was always the kind of beautiful part of the game that interested me, and the fact that you could do a bit of everything. You could have 1 minute absolute aggression and then a piece of skill along with it that just opened up a gap or sent someone through. And so I guess guys, centres like Philippe Sella would be a really good example from back in the 80s when I was a nipper watching rugby. And I'd love to call out some Scotland centres. I'm not sure any were quite as good. Gregor Townsend used to have some skills. But yeah, more recently, I suppose Brian Driscoll's been a guy I've really enjoyed watching playing rugby. And from further afield, maybe Carlos Spencer as well. What a great player to watch. But yeah, it's always been that side of the game that I've enjoyed. I mean, the tackling piece is a big thing too, you know, making a good hit, but it's quite sweet seeing a well executed attack.
Excellent. So we've got a handful of listener questions in here, if you don't mind answering. Michael, if you want to lead us through.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, Drew, you were quite popular with this. And they managed this time to actually put the questions privately to us, so you didn't see any of them, I think, anyway. So the first one comes from Straight Out of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Can you please tell us about your ice canoe idea?
Hi, Dan. Thanks for the question. Ice canoes. Yeah, okay. So this is part of a northern nest of ideas that we've got sitting there waiting to be used for gain at some point. I don't know how much I want to go into this, but yeah, it seems to be like a good opportunity for people to have fun on a river. Make a canoe out of ice, sail it down the river. You've got till it melts too much to get to the finish. It seems like a fun activity and a good business proposition, I'm sure. Not a lot of overhead apart from having a massive freezer, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this posed more questions than it answered for me. How exactly are we going to...
Well, you're the engineer here, Jason. That's for you to work out. Drew's the ideas man. You have to put these things into practice. So that's a tremendous idea.
I'd be happy to kind of give you a more detailed rundown of it, or anyone at some point in the pub. Okay. once we're back at that point.
So less of a question. The next one more of a statement from @HomelessRetty He'd be disappointed not to see you dressed as Joss Vander SmackDown.
Yeah, sure. I mean, fond memories. I don't know what to say about that. I think I've lost the outfit.
It's excellent. The next question, I'm quite looking forward to your answer here, is from @Lewis's dad. What are the best tour courts you've witnessed? And second question, the best judge?
Oh, God's right. So best tour courts, they're probably going to go along with the big crazy tours, Madrid and Budapest, I guess. Madrid, we had a court in the middle of a park, which, among other things, involved a young man by the name of Sex Panther being up in a tree, drinking beer at one point. So happy memories of that one. And the judge there was Mr. Brian Thomas, a bit of an out there genius when it came to tour court. Maybe a bit of a penchant for nudity. But yeah, great judge. And Budapest, yeah, I think it was the tour court that involved gas masks, witness protection, among other things. And the judge at that, he basically is referred to as the judge, a legend of Northern. So yeah, that was a great court as well. But I'm just picking out a couple. Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic.
I think he had one additional question. Are you drunkest after a night in the club or after one in Baldy's?
It's a good question. I couldn't tell you. Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah, I've probably had my fair share of both.
No, I wouldn't actually know how to answer that. I think I'm just quite permanently drunk as a state of affairs. The next question comes in from at Candles in the Wind. Are you the original Peter Parker or just another Spider-Man from the multiverse?
The original, clearly.
Fantastic. It was very, very good, very, very fast in the answer there.
Straight to the point, yeah. And next one from at Disgruntled Member. Can you do an evidenced 200 club draw for us now?
Nope.
Again, straight to the point. I've actually never signed up for the 200 club, which is something I really should do.
There will be an update on that very soon, I have to say, and it has been too long. So yeah, I think appreciate that point, but bear with me.
No, I think the issue might have just been the last one. Doug Younger seemed to win quite a lot of lines, didn't he?
Yeah, all above board.
I'll take your word.
Excellent. And the final listener question comes from Fat Jason Statham. Is there a preferred percentage of gin someone should be at all times?
Say that again, sorry.
So it's from at Fat Jason Statham. And the question is there a preferred percentage of gin someone should be at all times?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Yes. 15%.
15%.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Quite a wide-ranging set of questions there, wasn't it?
Yeah, very varied.
So,
obviously, Drew has a varied fan club.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So, last one for me then. What are you most looking forward to when life returns to normal, Drew?
Yeah, good question. And I think a wee bunker session is probably high on the list, as I'm sure would be for others. I've got a severe case of old man back just now, so apart from the kind of whiskey, I'm looking forward to getting back to swimming as well to try and help that. But yeah, a wee bunker session, meeting up with friends has got to be the kind of main thing. That and the nurseries being open.
Says every dad that we've had on. So next time in the Cockerel cast, we'll be combining another couple of northern men from further north, Doug Younger and John McIntyre. So join us for that one. For now, though, I'm Jason Thompson. He's Michael Mawdsley, and thank you, Drew, for joining us. Stay safe, and we look forward to a few 200 club draws in person before long. Cheers. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for having me, gents. And can I say, on behalf of everyone, we're appreciating your efforts with the Cockerel cast. It's going well. It's got a good vibe. You've got that kind of Richard and Judy thing going on, which is lovely. I'll let you work out who's who, but yeah, it's excellent. So thank you for having me.
Cheers, Drew.
Thank you for coming on.
Who was it, Michael, that called us Anton Deck the other day?
That was Uncle Joe in a private message, but you correctly pointed out that the obvious one is the problems of alcohol and addiction. In that comparison, we'll have to go offline and chat about who's Richard and Judy. Excellent. Thanks for coming on, Drew.
No problem. Cheers.
Cheers.